Welcome to the Black on Shelf podcast, a podcast championing Black and brown entrepreneurs on the digital and physical shelves. I'm your host, Tanaj Ferguson. This is Black on Shelf. All right, Kevin, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you on Black on Shelf. And it's really cool. Yeah, it's great to have you. Kevin is a busy guy, you know, those over 1 million followers.
You know.
we're really grateful to have you on. And it's really cool. We actually have some things in common. You went to University of Texas.
Hey,
yeah.
I already felt that positive energy when I even logged onto it. I knew it.
Yeah. So let's jump right on in and talk about your background. I saw recently you're really about to celebrate 9 years in business, which is crazy. Like, gosh. Wow, that's phenomenal to be in the game that long, you know, and to have evolved. So we're definitely going to talk about how you've evolved and really built your personal brand and your product line as well. But let's start with, who is Kevin? Where are you from? You know, we see some Spanish going on here with FitMenCook Espanol. So we want to know, who is this guy? Talk to us a little bit more about where you're from and who you are and how you got here.
Sure. Kevin Curry from Dallas, Texas. Actually, I was originally born in Philadelphia, but moved to Texas when I was around 4 or 5. So I'm pretty much a Texan, but I've got some northern East Coast roots.
Philly roots. I used to live in Philly too. Okay.
Hey, so you already know. I went to Texas for undergrad and studied business, and that's when I also fell in love with language. And so I went to live abroad in Ecuador, and I lived there for almost a year. And I worked in a gym and a restaurant just to learn more. And I just had this big idea once I came back from that. Just when you branch out and get outside of the U.S. at a young age, or just any age, you just kind of see different perspectives. And I was working on my thesis there. I had two ideas. And one, I wanted to study Afro-Ecuadorian Spanish and the language and the culture, but I ended up changing it to something else. But being outside of the country at that age just kind of opened my eyes to new things. And so I wanted to basically, what I said, just change the world. I was just like, oh my God, I want to do something that's amazing. And so came back, graduated, and started to work with like nonprofits back at my hometown. And then I got the idea to go to graduate school. So we went and did that. And was really
we're not going to roll past the graduate school, because you went to Harvard and got an MPP. So let's pause on that and show that resume. What went into your decision to go from business to, and it's related, but talk to us about what you were thinking would be how you would use this education business, and you're getting your master's in public policy at Harvard.
Yeah, I thought that there were incredible synergies between the public and private sectors. And I think that the same skill sets that you use in the private sector, and I was in consulting, strategic problem solving, decision-making and things like that. Those are things that nonprofits often struggle with. And also I just thought it was intriguing to be able to take society's largest problems and solve them through business-minded thinking, but doing everything for social good. So that's why I said, all right, let me go over, here and study this instead of business, because I think that's what I really want to do. And came back, and the stock market crashed. Like, everything just went to hell in a handbasket. So lost in the job that I had, and I found myself back at home on my parents' couch. And my parents don't make a lot of money, just like many parents out there, and I didn't want to be a burden. So I was my first time going on like government assistance and being on food stamps as an adult with my grad school degree.
Right.
In the office.
Sometimes it's like that.
You got to do what you got to do. You do what you got to do. You make it work. And I'm glad, especially for that part of my journey, just because that related to my wellness journey, because like I learned how to eat healthy and feel better on a budget. Like, it wasn't about buying all these top-notch organic products. You got to go to the spa and get this and that and all that personal training stuff. I couldn't afford that. In fact, I remember, it's funny, literally, I remember talking to my dad and this conversation recently, that one of my biggest decision points back then was like, can I afford this gym membership? And it was like, I think it was $10
Wow.
a month. It was
Yeah.
$10 a
Yeah.
month. I was like, at one point, that was a really big thing for me because I was like, I
Absolutely.
can't afford that plus my cell phone and groceries. So anyway, I learned
You are
how.
down to the basics.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
down to the basics. You got to make it do what it do, though. So I learned how to be well on a budget, and that's where a lot of this brand, this idea with FitMenCook kind of grew from, because I didn't have money to pay personal trainers or nutritionists, and then I'm from the South, so everything we eat and do is got a lot of love in it.
Got a
So
lot of love.
I couldn't ask Mama for help on this, so I was teaching myself how to eat better. And then I had the idea, this was early on, like in 2012, I had the idea to let me start to share out everything I'm eating, so that way maybe I could crowdsource my diet. So the idea was just to share out to the internet and have people out there who are maybe listening or, or watching or whatnot, anybody to say, hey, that looks like a good meal, but maybe eat this and not that.
Yes.
And the reverse kind of happened. I realized there are more people out there just like me who were just tired of that same bland, boring. We tired of eating salads. We tired of eating brown rice and broccoli. And they wanted something more.
Yeah, I love
And
all of your colorful dishes. So you totally have elevated that and continue to bring vibrancy to people's plates. Yeah, that's
yeah.
continues to be something you do.
Yeah, thank you. That part was purposeful too, because I didn't know what I was really doing, but I was seriously broke and I wanted help. So the idea was like I had to make the food look good when I took a picture of it from my cell phone, because I don't want to become like a meme. And back then, I think someone had that blog, That Plate.
Yeah.
And That Plate was basically a replacement for like Black Twitter back then.
Yeah. I guess we can
And people
thank
would,
Black Plate for
yeah,
creating this fair structure that ultimately made you your
that's right.
best, some accountability
That's
there. You're
right.
like, I'm trying to not be on my
I'm
plate.
not. That's correct. That's
Yeah,
exactly right. So yeah, it has its advantages. The internet does, right? Keeps us all in
absolutely.
check. Keeps us humble.
So you start off sharing and creating community. That was your first experience actually building community,
Yeah.
essentially. As you were sharing your
Yeah.
experience, you started to meet all these other people. Has
Right.
that evolved over the years? Because you're now over a million, like almost 2 million at this point, 1.6 million followers. Talk to us about your year one or two set of followers, and what was most important to
Uh-huh.
you at that point as you were building your brand and really building that community?
Yeah. What was most important to me was just the whole engagement piece. One of my biggest criticisms of corporate America, and the reason why I walked away from it, is that like I never felt connected to the value that I was creating in the world, and so I didn't have that. I felt like it was only, you had to be super high up to know
Yeah.
like the work that you did actually mattered. I felt like with FitMenCook and blogging and stuff, I would share something and people like you would respond to me and talk to me. I'm like, yo, that's pretty dope. And then you get an email or a message from someone saying, hey, I tried this out, it was really good, or I've been trying this recipe for the past couple months and I ended up losing 10 pounds. So thanks a lot.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was that type of stuff for me that was the most important in a community. It was the engagement factor, not just comments to me, but comments to each other.
Yeah. So some things I'm also interested is, you did work in corporate America with some, big companies, including a big
Mm-hmm.
tech company down in Texas. What were you thinking when it was time for you to really break off? You were starting to build this community. Some of the time you were overlapping, continuing to work for the big tech company out there.
Right.
And you had similar skills. You were doing similar work, digital marketing and such. Talk to us about how you were making that decision around leaving the comfort of corporate America
Mm-hmm.
while pursuing your passion and making sure there was a streamline for profit there for you and sustainability.
Right.
Because you do have, you were in a secure job at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very secure financially by that point. But I wasn't happy. So I think that was part of the catalyst. And
Yeah.
and it wasn't that, and this is something that like I've told people, like when they ask, how did you know that it was time to move? When in like Kings of Comedy, when D.L. Hughley was talking about, I ain't come here to work today, leave me alone, that part of it, I feel like that happens to many of us. whenever we get into a job, we'll first love it. And all of a sudden you're like, why are they asking me to do that? That is so dumb. What a crazy question. I can't stand this person and that person. And so the things that, that we actually used to love about a job, they all of a sudden become laborious, right? We hate it and we criticize it. And that's sometimes, like we'll look and say stuff like, well, it's so dumb for them to ask that question. Why are they doing that, et cetera, et cetera. I think those are indicators and they're pressure points for us all. We should pay attention to them because oftentimes the job hasn't changed, just we changed, and our excitement for it and our interest in it has changed. So for me, what was going on in my mind is like, I don't want to become like this negative energy around the office, because by that time I feel like I had been like a stellar employee. I was getting promoted and they're like, man, he's a rock star. And then by the end of it, I was like a mediocre. I was like your best mediocre employee, like just making it, because I'm missing conference calls and stuff because I'm blogging, I'm talking to people online. I'm like, I just missed an entire conference call because I'm going back and forth with this person over here about this recipe I just posted.
Yeah, where you're just so absorbed in like what you could be creating over here that like work was so second, it was so second priority, so secondary for you.
And I wasn't trying to be that way. And I also felt bad. Like, I don't want to be sitting there taking a paycheck from something that like I'm not actually doing. I don't think, for me, I don't think that God will really honor that. You need to do what you said you're going to go and do. So it's come to the point like, all right, Kev, like, what do you want? So I didn't know how it was going to work, but I just knew that there was this urge for me to go and do it. So financially, what I was thinking about the time was like, well, I didn't know that I could even make money from blogging. So I think this coconut oil company approached me and they said, hey, we like your stuff. We'll give you $500 to use our coconut oil and you make a post about it. To me, that was like, I was like, holy smoke.
$500 for a coconut oil $500? You got it.
Oh, yeah. Like, let me go. You want some more? You want some more posts? What else you got over there in your repertoire? You got anything else? So I was like, yo, this is pretty easy. Then it happened again. Then I got invited to an event and it's like a thing after thing after thing started to kind of happen on the side. And so I'm like, all right, if you're spending only 30, 40% of your time and you're making this amount of money, what happens if you could do like 100% of your time? So I kind of carried that rationale with me until I just had to be like, all right, Kev, it's time to bet on you. And that's what I did. And I did it during Thanksgiving dinner. We were going around the table thinking about stuff that we're thankful for. And I just said, I think I'm going to quit my job. And my whole family was just like, great, finally.
They believed in you.
Yeah. And it's something that I didn't see. And that's really important too. You need to have a good support system around you. You don't need it, but it's definitely, helpful in the sense that a lot of people who can still make it. But it just did something to me that like, all right, that my people believe in me.
Yeah.
So I jumped ship and I said, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I did. And I haven't looked back. And there's something, I talk a lot about faith because, when people ask questions like this is because I don't think that I can't not talk about it because there's something that I think happens whenever you are in the proper alignment with where you're supposed to be. Like I knew that there was an urge for me to do something else.
I like to call that purpose, right?
Yeah.
And you were available, you were doing the things you needed to do. So you were like really obeying the calling at the time. And so, you just collided with your purpose by answering your call at the time. And you start to see those positive outcomes of being at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing.
Right.
That's what God honors, to your point. Like, what does God honor? He honors our obedience.
Oh, absolutely. Well, there you go. We're going to send you offering after this podcast.
Hey! I believe the same. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so once you say yes, sometimes it's hard to know, like, well, what was it, Kev? I don't really know. It was just saying yes, because once I said yes, and I made it a post and said, all right, y'all, I did something radical today. I quit my job. When I tell you, it wasn't like companies were waiting and being like, oh yeah, finally we can work with you. But that's what kind of happened. All of a sudden you started getting all these offers and deals and, hey, can you go, let's go and do this and yada, yada. And you just kind of figure it out as you go. You figure stuff out in this social media world. And I haven't looked back since, but I had to. But it's crazy because it's not like those same companies weren't there before when I was
Yeah.
blogging. There was something about me stepping out and saying, I'm going to do this
Yeah.
and go all in,
Yeah.
that it kind of
Another level
unlocks
of
something.
commitment. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
it
saw that.
unlocks something.
Mhm.
So
So I'm curious, you've really been in the blogger game for a long time. You've seen it change and evolve. And I think for the Black on Shelf family, there are folks here who are interested in building their brand, and maybe out of that brand, there might be opportunities for other things. Talk to us about some of the things you've learned about building a brand and also building a community as a part of that brand. What are some of the things you've really learned and continue to apply as it's tougher now. You're at 1.6 million and you kind of have to keep beating yourself at this point and continuing to provide value. What are some of the things that you think about as core learnings that continues to work for you? And is it the same as when you're a small brand, some of the things that translates to now being such a bigger brand?
I'm going to take that question a different way. I mean, I'm going to still answer, but I'm going to go about it in a different way, in that I'll answer it in the things that I wish that I would have done.
That's good.
And I'll say this, especially to the people listening to this podcast, as a creator and as a Black creator, we say that we believe in what we do. We say that, that we've got the faith to go out there and do it, but sometimes we kind of hedge. And I think that I hedged a lot.
Okay.
And I would encourage you, if you've got a product idea or you're a creative and you want to go and do something, don't wait on the world. Don't wait on like anybody else to validate you. Stop waiting on other things to kind of happen. You just need to go ahead and build that yourself. Believe it, like truly and fully. And I say that because there are so many times where like I had ideas and I would share them with, people who can make things happen. Right. Or I'd get locked into like TV just, oh my God, Kevin, you're great for this. We just really love you. Give us some more ideas. I give ideas and they take it and put somebody else that, that was a non-Black person in there. So it's like these things kind of keep happening over and over and over again. And I realized it's not too late, but I realized in my sense that like, I wish I would have done this sooner. I can be my own marching band. I can be my own production team. I can be my own, brand. I can be my own brand. I don't have to partner up with XYZ brand in order to go and do something. If I want to go and do it, I can go and do that. So, that's the way, that's something that like, I wish that I would have gotten onto the bandwagon or really kind of realized sooner. Have you watched Black AF on Netflix?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it's episode 13. I probably haven't memorized, but that episode, I encourage everyone. I know that there's a lot of feelings about the show, whatnot. Tyler Perry's cameo in that show really speaks well to this right here. It speaks to a frustration that I think a lot of creatives, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of actors, people can actually identify with. And that's literally just going out there and being your own engine and not waiting on anybody else. So go watch that episode. That would be my best advice to anyone. The things that I wish that I would have done earlier, because I locked myself into so many contracts, having to wait and, oh, you're perfect for this. We're going to do this and do that, only just to be, passed up strategically passed up. There was not even intention to even use me, but you love the ideas and you love everything that I, can bring, but you'll use somebody else for it.
Yeah. I mean, another piece of what you're really saying too is, and we've heard this before on some other episodes, is really protecting what's proprietary to you. And if you're a person with great ideas, it's about, getting smarter and smarter about how you collaborate without, losing the contribution you gave. And that I'm sure by now you've certainly learned that, because you certainly have a full team. You're doing a lot on your own, and others have to sort of play by your rules in order to work with you. That's a big thing that I'm sure appears that you have learned for sure. Anything else around that you think is important for the Boss Fam to know?
Yeah. I love the way you said that, protecting your own like ideas. And I think one way that people can kind of bait creatives and bait other people, just like in entrepreneurs, is this promise, this expectation that things are gonna, if you do this and that. I've found that that's rarely the case at times. Yes, it does pay off, but be careful of the people who negotiate. Well, that if you do this, I'm just trying to tell you, this could potentially happen, and da da da. Yeah, you want to put your best foot forward regardless. So if you do that, that negates that. So it's not about like you got to do something extra. I already am extra. I put effort into my work. I put effort into
Right.
my brand, but that doesn't mean I got to go ahead and give you the journal that I'm writing with all my ideas, to go ahead and create something. Because if I do this, then you're gonna, no, it's not that. And also, if people like something, they're gonna go ahead and take it. Like there's not you like it's just, it is what it is. The proof is right there. So a lot of, hemming and hawing and dancing around, for people, just be careful of that type of thinking, just because I think that kind of got me trapped up over the years, just just waiting around
Yeah.
and thinking, all right, Kev, you could just, if you just do this one more thing, this is it. Now,
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, you do need to sacrifice. There is, that part is there. There will be times where you're going to put some extra effort and just hope that that gamble pays off.
Mhm.
Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm saying, if you find yourself though in a pattern of that, then you need to really evaluate you
Yeah.
and your approach to the industry in which you are working in.
Yeah. So you build your brand, you're learning as you go. One thing I noticed about your journey is it really seems like you've invested in yourself, like investing in quality photography, camera work,
Hmm.
a space. And I know all of these things were not instant, but talk to us how
Yeah.
you think about equipping yourself, resourcing yourself properly, really investing in yourself to be top notch. Talk to us about your philosophy around that and sort of some of the key investments you've made for yourself as a brand, as well as in your business in order to be where you are.
Yeah. It was definitely over time. It wasn't all at once. I'd say this: if you have good content, and good ideas, you can keep everything on a cell phone for life. In fact, I would, or to keep it low budget and just something that you can replicate pretty easily for a long time. So don't go. You may like a certain aesthetic that someone has. If you want to go and do that, recognize the cost of that. Not only to get the equipment to set it up, but also the cost to maintain that throughout. So I do not recommend you doing that unless you're going to be super committed to that idea. With me, I think one of the best investments that I made, not just from the creative side, but also from the business side, was like getting help
Mhm.
and putting people in positions that could do stuff that allowed me to free up the stuff that I was doing behind the scenes, so I could focus much more on the creative side of the business, or the products that I wanted to make, or the content that I wanted to create, writing a book and things like that. Those are the ones that, so look for ways to make your job, what people actually are wanting from you, much easier. And that's
Mhm.
hard to do as a creative. It's even harder to do as an entrepreneur because you're so protective of your idea of what you have. And I totally get that. It makes a lot of sense. You should be. But I found that when I finally stepped back and allowed someone to come in and help me out, when I allowed somebody else to edit, yeah, it may not be the same way that I would edit. It may not be the same way that I'd write that email to somebody. But guess what? When they wrote it, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, why'd you write that email? Why did you put that in the video? I can't believe that you did that. And I'm so upset. And guess what? Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody cared.
Yeah.
The audience didn't care. Whoever got that email didn't care. So I realized that like there's a lot of ego checking. I tell people when they're working out, or just starting to work out, but as you walk into the gym or whatever place you're going to be, like doing something physical, hang up that ego on the door,
Mhm.
and you'll be a lot. It'll make this experience a lot more enjoyable. And so it's the same thing in this process. You got to hang up part of that ego and allow people to come in to grow your idea, to grow your brand. Now you
Yeah.
can have creative ownership, you can have that input, and you should, because that's what's gotten you to this point. but there's going to come a point where you got to allow your brand to breathe.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, you can find out too what works and what doesn't work, because there's a lot of benefit in giving people some space to go and do something, and they can tell you like right away they're not the right person for the job.
Yeah.
So
And the key with this collaboration that you're talking about is you really get more creativity and more expertise. While you come with some expertise, someone else comes with different ones, and they can elevate your idea. And you create a machine, and you're more of an octopus when you have other people working towards the same goal. Like you have to be aligned, of course, but once you get your machine rolling, you really are able to do more in less time, and you're able to scale your brand and your business versus you're the center of everything, having to do everything. That gets really taxing. You probably can't even take vacation properly if you're the only person that's in charge of everything. So that's really hard.
The danger of that too, I gotta say this, and I hope that people hear me if they're in this position. The danger of what you're doing, if you're still trying to do it like everything, is that you probably quit your job for a reason. You probably change your major or so for a reason, because you really love to do something else over here, right? Mm-hmm. The danger of you doing it the exact same way and loading yourself up and doing everything is that it will become a job, and you'll fall out of love with it.
That's a really good point.
So your passion can quickly become something that you abhor, the same way your last job. So it's to your benefit to spread out the wealth in terms of tasks, so that way you can allow yourself to have a lot more creative energy and fall back in love or be inspired again with whatever it is that you're trying to build.
Love that. That's a gem right there. So talk to us about your product line. So let's talk about your teas and your spices, and then we'll talk about your book, because your book is in Target. You have products, and I don't know if this was something you ever thought you would be creating out of your brand when you first started, but just let us know a little bit about how you decided to take your brand in a product direction on your own, especially.
It was tough, but it was also one of those things that I got tired of waiting. You get tired of waiting on people, and you just kind of, you have to go. In fact, it's a discussion like right here. I leveraged some of the partnerships that I had gotten like over the years to network and find out how to go and do stuff in order to help me to create products. So that was the benefit of it. But I remember even recently, a brand that was working on one of my products wanted to partner up, and I'm like, okay, great, this seems like a really good idea. But the more and more we talked and we saw things, the more it was leading toward the dissolution of my product. So I even had to kind of be like, nope, I can't go this way yet, because I'm not ready to give that up. I want to grow this even more, and I don't want you to plaster your logo and everything on there. So for me, it was just, I want to create wealth, hopefully, prayerfully, for me and my family over time. I want to create something and leave to my kids or to my nephews or whatnot. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. When it comes to the products that I actually have, I thought I'd look for the lowest hanging fruit, things that kind of made sense. So spices for me made sense because I remember when I was on my healthy journey, I didn't know how to season food. I didn't know how to cook. So I'd go to the grocery store. You see that big sea and wall of spices and not know what to do. And the only thing they tell you is oh, you got to get Mrs. Dash. Mrs. Dash tastes like, dried cardboard. It's terrible. So
I like salt on my food too. I like salt on my food.
It's salt is not a bad thing.
It's not bad. Can we educate the people?
Yeah,
too much of anything is bad, but you need salt.
Yeah, please, you need a little salt. You don't want to choke nobody because your food is so terrible. So I decided to design a spice system and make it really easy for people. So I have 3 base blends, like an everyday blend, a blend called Land for anything that roams in the land, also for birds too, they fly in the air, and then something for the sea. And it's super fresh, fragrant spices. It has a little bit of sodium in there. So that way I encourage people to go ahead and season to taste afterwards, because some people have hypertension and other things like that, it's hard for them. Then I have some specialty blends. I've got a sriracha, the green chili lime, that tastes a lot like Doritos. I really love it. People love this one. And then Southern Creole is Cajun seasoning. And this one is a nod to my Southern heritage, and why I really, I want to do this one is, when you think about, typical Southern cuisine, African American cuisine, Cajun is like right up there, right? But despite this, the amount of sodium and artificial ingredients in some of the stuff that we traditionally have cooked with is so high. I wanted something that's going to be a lot more healthful and fragrant and fresh without all that sodium, but that packed in the flavor. So I'm really, really, really proud of this Southern Creole blend. People really love it, and it's pretty versatile. And the cool thing about all of these is you can mix and match them. So that's why it looks like they're so colorful.
It a flavor system, yes.
Yeah,
they work
so
together.
You can mix and match these together, and they're all great together. And then through my travels, one place where I went, you ever been someplace where you're just like, it feels like home?
Yeah.
Somebody pointed this out. My buddy pointed this out to me. This is like an aside, and I'm sorry tonight. I talk a lot, so people on the podcast,
I'm sorry. Okay.
I hope that you're like, oh my god, this fool talk so much.
No, this is great. This is what a podcast is about. Conversation. It's engaging. I'm loving it.
Okay. One of my favorite places to go to was Morocco. And I've been able to travel to a lot of places, but for some reason, whenever I went to Morocco, I just felt like a peace about just the way of life and just everything about it. And one thing that we would do is we would drink tea like every single day, but but you do it like multiple times a day. And watching them make the tea and pour it and whatnot, it was fragrant. It was so satisfying. I'm not even a big tea drinker, but that experience just kind of changed my mind. I was like, man, this is a lot of peace.
It's ceremonial for them.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's ceremonial. I think also because I associate my good experience there, so tea just becomes that for me. But if you ever get the chance to go to Morocco, I think you should.
I want to. I love traveling. I'm from the Bahamas, born and raised, so I have this affinity for culture, and I usually love Spanish-speaking places. Those feel like home, like Peru and Costa Rica. I love the food and the variety of the landscape and everything like that. Those are some of my favorite places, but I have not gone to Morocco yet. I will be going.
My workout buddy pointed something out to me because I was just going on and on about Morocco. I was like, yo, man, we should get our families together and go and do something and go and take.
You're just looking for another opportunity to go to Morocco.
I know,
right?
Just go. Let's go to Morocco. But here's the thing, like, he pointed this out to me. It's like, I've never been in a place where, like, you traveling while black, being black, period. I'm reminded every day that I'm black.
Yeah. Yes.
If that makes sense, right?
Yes.
I'm reminded every day. I'm not trying to, you're reminded every day that you're a woman at that, the different things that kind of happen. You don't talk about it, but you're just reminded.
Yeah.
Morocco, I was never, reminded of that. I was just treated as a person.
Yeah.
And just the peace. And so I'm pretty sure some people have maybe some other experiences, but in my experience, it was just amazing. Yeah. And I think that also gave me a huge affinity, like for the country, just because it was very peaceful. And it's not something, I think that when you look at the media, the way that we portray a lot of Arab and Muslim countries is much different. It's a little bit more hostile. It's aggressive. It wasn't at all. It was so chill. Like I could live there, like very, very, like really easily.
Watch Out World. You might be getting Kevin Curry Abroad, the series.
Hey, you know what? From your lips to God's ears, and I'm not gonna say that we're not working on that, but so that experience with tea really just opened up my eyes, and so I wanted to come out with some wellness teas because tea is very like medicinal. It's not just to taste good for your throat when you're not feeling bad, but there are a lot of properties. So I created this like beautiful, vibrant golden tea. It's for like immunity. I got one for rest and recovery. It's a fragrant lemongrass tea. Yes. This one is a focus tea. So it's a black tea, and we're using black tea and cacao and sarsaparilla to get you going. So you take this and you're like, you typing up crazy. You going for a workout or whatnot. You at work.
Yes, the energizer tea.
Yes, and one of my favorite is this soothing tea. It's a green one down here at the bottom, and that's one of the crowd favorites. we are working on another one that's coming out in the
What?
fall. I tell you, yeah, I am so excited about this tea. I guess I'll tell you the name because I haven't announced it
Sneak peek
yet
of the
anywhere.
name.
But okay, cinnamon rolling, cinnamon
Oh,
rolling, and so we saying the rolling because we wanted to do a THC tea or a CBD
oh,
tea. So this one is going to be
that's
CBD
super
and
creative.
CBN. Yeah. So we're doing these lines of teas because I've also seen the incredible benefits of CBD, CBN, and
Mhm.
THC. We're not going to do THC like right now, but this next
Yeah.
one's going to be CBD and CBN.
Mhm.
And it's for that after lunch kind of craving, when you got something sweet. This one tastes
Sweet,
like a
yeah, with
cinnamon
the
roll,
cinnamon,
but
yeah.
it's got the CBD, CBN. So you got that calming effect. So,
Yeah.
you at work and someone getting on your nerve, like the woosah, you
Yeah.
can easily
Drink your
get onto that
cinnamon
Zoom
tea and mind
call.
your
Yeah.
business.
It's like, let
Hmm.
me just go ahead and hit this real quick. Let me hit this real quick. The kids are yelling. Let me go and hit this tea real quick. Take the edge off.
You could also gift it to a friend who's stressed.
Yeah.
Just like, you
Right.
need the
Right.
cinnamon
Right.
tea in
Right.
your life. I like that.
And we need, I hope, this is, an aside, and I truly mean this. I hope, first off, thank you for the podcast. And I hope Black people uh, we are prioritizing not only our physical health, but our mental health.
Yeah.
It's been a really tough time in the past 2 years, 4 years, 5 years.
A
It's been
while.
hard.
Yeah.
And to juggle that type of trauma for a while. So my products are for everyone. But since I got this platform right now with you, I really want to speak to us. Like you gotta think differently about your overall wellness. It's not just about going to the gym and working out. It's about the foods we eat. It's about the beverages that we consume.
Mhm.
Look for ways here and there to bring peace and comfort into
Yeah.
your life. And
Mhm.
one of the biggest ways that you can do that is by making healthful decisions.
Yeah. I know one of the big campaigns you have right now, and I noticed the shift in how in your overall communication with FitMenCook is you're talking about your goal of helping people live not just a healthier life, but a happier life. And so you have
Yeah.
been talking a lot more on your platform about holistic health, including this mental health element. This is something I
Right.
want to talk about. It has been increasingly important globally, but even more, especially within our community, to think about this element that we don't usually voice and to bring more
Right.
voice to it, to bring more coping mechanism to it, to bring more healing to it. So you've been talking a lot more about mental health. Talk to us
Right.
about some of the things you've learned from your community or through your own personal experience around mental health, and what are some of the ways you are tackling that in your own life and through your community?
Thing that I'm doing is I've decided to actually be open and public about it. It's something that I've struggled with, and I've always felt like a hypocrite because I struggle behind the scenes. I don't really say anything publicly.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, I decided, like, Kevin, if you're gonna do this thing, you're gonna be a lot more authentic and open yourself up. And
Okay.
if it's okay if it's just for a couple people, for one person, but that way that was for me, so I can have some sanity and peace of mind, be like, this is what I'm feeling. I got to just put this out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that has just unlocked so many conversations, hundreds and thousands of messages from people
Yeah.
around the world who suffer in silence oftentimes. And it's a shame just because it's something that the majority of people can actually identify with. Everybody knows like what it
Definitely.
feels not to be at their best.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that just by lending my platform to talk about my mental health and wellness, what I'm doing has given a lot of people maybe some not courage per se, but just the so that they can maybe go and get help. They can go and talk to someone, or
Mm-hmm.
also just validation to be like, okay, great. This person that's always smiling has down days too.
Yeah.
It's not, he's not like inhuman, and I'm not lacking something in my life because I don't feel the way that he looks on camera.
Yeah, because social media is very competitive. People take, your job, which is to be on point, they take that moment to and probably try to apply it to your whole life. And so when they look at theirs,
Yeah.
they compare your highlight reel to their real life, and it's like, it doesn't add up. So it's really great that you're humanizing yourself and saying, no, I have low moments too. I'm happy in these areas, but I also could sometimes be depressed. And it is just, the integration and navigation of those two feelings. That's where the struggle lies, and saying it's okay to sometimes feel great and other times feel really depressed.
Right. Yeah.
But there's something you can do about that. There's coping mechanisms. There's ways you can tackle that.
Right. And that's what I try to get people to see. I'll never do a video about mental health. I don't think I've done one yet where I don't talk about like the strategies of or giving somebody some outlet or some action items that they can do to take control of their mental health. And again, with the past 2 years that we've had, everyone should be looking at this a lot more like critically. I know it's been in the news like nonstop, so you had to be like living up under a rock if you didn't know that. But this whole thing with Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of these women. I'm so proud of these Black women choosing themselves, choosing their own like mental health and their own sanity over trying to compete for everybody else, trying to make everybody else happy.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I like it for so many reasons, but mainly they did something that none of us do, or some of us rarely do like individually. That's I choose me. I choose me.
Especially in sports that are so collective, or being on a team and you're like, I can't right now, not because I am fearful, but because I have to prioritize what's important to me. That's such a great example to everybody else, how we can build up that courage, and even some of the words we can say to choose ourselves and to step away from a situation that may not serve us. Right.
And if they can do that when there's millions of dollars on the line, and not millions, but billions of eyeballs on them, why can't we do that in a small setting with our friends and our family? Be like, you know what? I got to take a step back for a moment. I'm not feeling at my best. And that's okay. And what's good about this too, even though it's pretty fearful, is you'll understand who's actually for you and who's actually maybe not so for you too when you do this. So it's something that, that people should really be taking seriously, because it's going to be a growing problem with technology, the way that we're constantly, connected. And then we're offered up these images constantly. We don't think about of what happiness should look like, of what health and wellness should look like. You got to look like this, and what the image of beauty should look like. About how you should be doing in sports. About about your podcast and where you should be right now with your podcast, where you should be right now with your products. And doing this. Well,
there's always someone better or higher or more ahead, right?
And it's constantly in your face, right? So to not recognize that the effect that it could have, subtly on your mental health is actually pretty dangerous.
Yeah, you can spiral thinking that you have to kind of shoulder the weight of all this expectation for perfectionism that a modern society really puts on you. Never have we ever had so much access to everyone than now, and to what everyone is doing than we have now. So it's even harder to focus on what you're specifically doing and how you can make that great versus trying to make this great, and also looking at all the millions of people that have already mastered it. It could take away. There's a lot of distraction.
Absolutely.
So to build these brands though, and even to focus on how are you gonna bring total wellness into your platform, that took a lot of focus. What are some of the things you're doing to define your objectives as a brand and as a business? I think the Boss Farm could benefit from hearing your perspective on and your process on defining your objectives. How often do you do it? Do you have them at all?
Yes. And it's funny because I'm moving out of my condo right now, or trying to get my place ready to sell. And I actually put up my objectives in the form of like affirmations in my house. So when I was cleaning up, I see like note cards that I had made back in 2017 and 2016. They're plastered on the back of my closet wall that I just that had been covered up, and they're falling on the ground, and I'm picking them up and I'm reading them and I'm thinking like, does this still resonate to be true, Kevin? Are you still helping people? Are you passion driven? Are you know, do you love like what you do? These are the things that I would, that I would be saying about my company, my, and the brand, that I want to build. So first off, the way that I define my success, or the way that I have, is, I guess, in two ways. One, I do need to be happy. I do need to feel connected and invested in what I'm doing right now, because we don't think about that, but I actually want to do this for much longer.
Yeah.
But if there's ever a point where I feel like I'm falling out of love with it, or I don't want to do that anymore, I need to be honest with myself in order to make that pivot, make that change, and honest with the community about what the next step forward is. In terms of defining objectives, so what I try to do is, like, each year I'll do my little vision board and find something else that I really want to focus on, an area that, like, I want to build. And I told my team about 2 or 3 years ago that I've been loving working with brands. To my manager there, so I love working with brands and stuff, but now it's time for Kevin to build something. Kevin to build his own brand. So I only want brands that actually want to work with me. And what I mean by that, we want people that actually, for lack of better words, like, we get in bed together, we go together. We're not doing the one night stands.
Long term.
So if you really rock with me, you really like what you see, show me that. Let's actually go steady. And so that way, the things that we do are an investment in both of our brands. So I'm going to invest in your brand, you're going to invest in my brand, and approach stuff like that. Now, that's not going to be something that you can do like all the time and straight out, but whenever possible, I'm putting my brand first now. And thinking, all right, what's in it for me? I get that you're going to pay me this money. Great. But I'm thinking, how can my brand benefit from this as well?
Yeah, you want to elevate it. I'm curious, what's the next frontier for FitMenCook? Right now, you're direct to consumer. You're telling us about expanding your line. What are some of these things that near, in, or long term you really want to see for the brand?
Oh, what I want to see for the brand
and the product line.
Well, we've got some kitchen products coming out, and I'm really excited about that, because the skillets, we got some carbon steel skillets, and they say boom on it, like I always say.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
No, fam, they are so dope. I'll make sure that you get some, because I want you to publicize it. And y'all, I need your help on this. We got to keep these lights on. I need a lot of your help. So please buy a skillet. We want you to buy a skillet. And I got cool.
So you're like you're trying to be a full-on household name, because you literally have this audience that knows you for cooking, knows you for inspiration, knows you for better living. That is super cool. Okay, so we're not just gonna see the pioneer woman, we're gonna see Kevin Curry.
There we go. And speak that, because that's what I'm gonna embarrass myself a little bit, but share something with you. I have walked through department stores or stores like Target and Container Store. Places where, like, I want to be, and I'll speak it. And I'll say, God,
and I'm a second it for you. We're 2 or 3 gathered. I'm a second it for you.
So I hope that y'all will be seeing those skillets pretty soon. Actually, in those stores, the products that we're putting together. And to my point that I brought up about waiting on other people, one thing that we just wrapped yesterday, we wrapped our first masterclass series. Instead of waiting on Hollywood and producers coming and taking the ideas that they like and then somebody else, like, sure, like, we can work together. But right now, these ideas that we have as a team, we're just going to go ahead and create them. We're going to create that content. So we're building out our own Healthful and Happy platform that's not just going to have my content, but we're going to get other people out there. In fact, this is a call right now, people listening. Hey, if you're creative, particularly, communities that, that have been overlooked in media like that, especially in wellness. So BIPOC, if you are a creator and you got ideas, I want you to reach out, because we want to begin to create a platform where we can share your content, you can be compensated for it, and we can elevate you and your brand. How can we support you in the name of health and wellness? And
so it's a little bit of like an open marketplace content house that you can submit to, and you drive people there, and there's all types of things that they can see when they go there.
if you want to do some content on here, Denaj, and
Okay,
talk about,
I'm
I'm
loving it.
serious.
I mean, I love
This is
health
the
and wellness
content that we want.
myself. I'm a bodybuilder, but I'm really a lifestyle.
Hey,
I'm
yeah,
really into the lifestyle because I love to compete because it's just that push that makes me so
yeah,
excited every now and then. But I also
and
just
that's
love
great,
lifting
fam.
and healthy eating too. Just like that's why I love your page so much.
Yeah, that is awesome. I don't know how y'all do it. I love food way too much to be a bodybuilder model. I got, I can. Ooh,
Well,
yeah.
that's why I don't compete every year, but I'm always training. My favorite part of wellness is like the challenging myself and my body. I actually PR'd recently on a hip thrust, 400-pound hip thrust. And I was like, oh my gosh, I
Dear
feel so
God.
strong. I feel so strong. And that's my favorite part about fitness. You discover some stuff
Uh-huh.
about yourself, right?
I
I
love
love
that.
it.
Yes, I feel it
Yeah.
all the time. It's like it's wonderful to discover what the human body can do and what your human body can do. So props to
Yeah.
you for putting them hips up there, 400 pounds. Like, you
Yeah. Yeah, I love this platform you're creating. And,
Yeah.
I feel like I really have not seen many successful platforms like that. So I do think your brand is one of those that are able to attract the right people and galvanize the right type of support to make it successful. So we will be looking out. Let me start getting my ideas together to have a presence on there.
Yes.
I already have a brand in
Yeah.
mind. I have one that I've created called Body, Muscle, and Soul. Because like you, I think about wellness as holistic. And as when I turned 30, I created this brand called Body, Muscle, and Soul. And it's all about the three parts that make us whole. Because I think about health in these different areas. So, I'll be getting in line like everybody else.
we may have to do a master class, like how to be a competitor, how to approach that. I'm serious. If you so let's definitely keep in touch about that, because I just feel that, and there's so many ideas. And I'll get your address too to make sure that you get all the products that we got coming out, because I'm telling you.
All right, we're gonna make it some content about the skillets. Boom.
Hey.
Okay.
Now listen, if you're cooking it, I'm gonna say this right now. If you're cooking it and it look like something that should be on that plate, I'm gonna talk about you behind the scenes.
Okay, it's gonna be vibrant. I've been watching enough of your videos. I know how to make it nice, appealing. Yes, colorful.
Okay, all right.
Vegetables.
Okay.
Nice lean proteins. Purple. I'm gonna put purple potatoes, some fish, maybe some mahi on the. Let me get my ideas. I have plenty of meals in mind.
The budget is big. Okay, I see what you're doing over there. Venmo me $20. You over here eating a mahi. Mahi.
I love fish. Yeah. So this is really awesome. One of the things I like to talk about and ask founders is, what is your thought on what is your experience with being Black on shelf? Like, what does that mean to you to be a Black brand on shelf? And in your case, you're on the digital shelf, direct to consumer, but you are building momentum to be in the physical space with your products. And you are a brand that's taking space in both worlds and continuing to expand your territory. So what does it mean to you to be Black on shelf?
It means opportunity. Mm-hmm. It means to be given the consideration, to be among those who can be picked. Because I think for so long that, first off, just for me personally, I haven't had that opportunity, but also historically, we haven't had that opportunity, or it's behind somebody else's brand. So the fact that like it's me and my face, it's my hands in the photo, it's my face in the photo, it's my color that you're seeing in there, and I'm behind this, and to be able to just my products are just as good. They're better than the ones that are out there like on the shelf, and I truly believe that. So to be able to to have something that I can call my own, is one of the greatest feelings in the world. It's also one of the most terrifying feelings in the world, because I'm also like as you said, you're trying to do better. You're trying to do better and better and better and outdo yourself, bring in the next big thing. And there's so many things that you want to do. So you kind of have to compartmentalize and organize your approach to know like what to do next. So to me, that's the greatest feeling though, is just being able to have the opportunity, because when you're a dreamer, when you have stuff, what haunts me, or what did haunt me, was the what if.
Yeah.
What if I actually did this project? What if I actually created some spices? What if I actually did do this tea? And so many times we will just settle for the what if. And for me, that haunted me. So to go from there to having everything kind of just like to being on the shelf, is just, it's a different, it unlocks a new level of thinking and momentum in your life. So
yeah,
opportunity.
that's really powerful. And, you're such a great example for what we can do. That's a part of being Black on Shelf, is really about paving the way. Part of that opportunity that others seek who are watching you is saying, oh my gosh, if he can do it, maybe I can as well. Right. You're paving the way for so many others. And that's why it's so awesome that you took up your personal brand and really found ways to make that physical and to continue to increase your credibility as an educator, as an influencer, as an ambassador in this space. It's really amazing. And really being able to write that book, even, we didn't talk about your book there, but you also wrote a book and really documented the recipes and some of your main philosophies around health and wellness. Give us a little bit on your book.
Yeah, the book is basically 6 years in the making, in terms of like taking the lessons that I learned along the way and talking to so many followers and stuff, and working with people behind the scenes to put that into much more of a roadmap. So it's got 100+ recipes in there, but people enjoy that the first part of the book is setting the foundation. So I'll talk about the pitfalls that I've fallen into. I talk about the 10 commandments of meal prep, because I think that being prepared is one of the best things that you can do to get your journey going. I show you and talk to you about how to go ahead and do that process, how to create your own meal plan. But most importantly, I just talk about the fact that I tried to establish that this is a journey. This is a wellness journey. This is not I got to lose 10 pounds for the beach. Sure, that you can go and do that, but what happens after that goal? Right. So this is about setting yourself up for the long term and making healthful decision making. And people have loved the book. I definitely love the book. It's a source of pride for me. And it's funny because I had, and probably still do, I actually canceled my second book deal because I wanted to, in my mind, I'm just like, I want to do this when it's right. And right now I want to build content for me, and like making books and stuff makes the publisher like really rich and whatnot. And seeing that stuff like behind the scenes, how perhaps you're not as you're not treated the exact same as some of the other persons, and that's just it's par for the course.
Par for the course is learning.
That, and it's like, why put in all this energy, Kev, get this return, when you can just put it into your own brand, put those same ideas into content, so and you benefit from it directly. So instead of doing that, I'm gonna, with this new platform that we're trying to build out, we're gonna be making like visual cookbooks. Kind of like the way that, what was that, Beyonce, not that I forget who she is, but Beyonce, kind of pioneered the whole visual album stuff.
Yes.
What if we can put a cookbook in a visual form,
so
and get
creative.
That to people?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking to do next.
All right. Well, we have a lot to keep up with you. Everybody should get themselves some FitMenCook spices, some teas. We talked about all the great flavors there. It's amazing. And definitely the book. And then stay tuned for the skillet coming out. It's going to be amazing. And you definitely want to be a part of this ecosystem. We all are out here trying to live our healthiest life. Like Kevin always says, healthy and happy life. All of it goes together. You can have all of them. Sometimes not at the same time, but always aiming towards all of them, right? So he's a great reminder of that. Follow his platforms, follow his community. It's really credible, trusted content that's very engaging. And I know you all can benefit from it. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and sharing your story and time. We're so excited for all the great things you're doing.
I appreciate that, fam.
Yes.
God bless you.
God bless you too.